who was an environmental champion of the left for decades. People can now go kayaking in the Hudson because of Bobby Kennedy and his lawfare against corporations. And now they've been turned into haters of Bobby Kennedy because of the money of Big Pharma, because Democrats.
No, because of his life's work. Like, no one put like a fucking gun to Bobby Kennedy's head and said, hey, you have to write a book where you deny that HIV causes AIDS. Talk about that either. If you try to talk about this kind of stuff, they'll take you down.
Hundreds of thousands of studies that show the horrendous danger of Wi-Fi radiation. Well, Wi-Fi.
So again, it's so ridiculous and absurd for people to use RFK Jr. as some kind of like, hey, by the way, RFK Jr. is pointing out, like, a lot of these, by the way, and oh my God, this dude, he got this dude on, Richard Medhurst. This guy was outed as a groomer trying to pick up like a 16 and a 17-year-old in Facebook groups well before he became an internet personality. But yeah, of course, he's on the Jimmy Dore show. But yeah, a lot of this resides in starting from a place of, I think, commonplace observance. Like, yes, everyone can point out, hey, a lot of the products that we consume and buy in stores are unhealthy for us. Manufactured food, processed foods are all very unhealthy. That's true. And then from there might be a conspiracy where our food is being poisoned in order to have mass control of the population through making us infertile. You may find that a certain amount of fluoride in the water, like once you're there, it's like, oh, now we're spiraling into, again, nonsense. But we came from a place, of reality.
Crucible.
Yes.
And so your thoughts on RFK Jr. perhaps being in a position of a CIA director? That would never happen. Maybe. I mean, you'd have to be Senate confirmed. That would be a hell of a fight.
That would be amazing.
But to be, he could absolutely serve over.
How about human health and services?
Totally.
How about something like that? I would love. So
the
Donald,
freaking FDA. How about this? Our pharmaceuticals. How our pharmaceuticals get pumped?
How about Surgeon General? Yeah. Right. So what was revealed was even by Bill Gates revealed this, that Bobby Kennedy got the ear of Donald Trump when it came to vaccines, and they were going to have a Senate vaccine committee to look into the efficacy and the safety of vaccines. And why would you be against that? Because all we're going to find out is that vaccines are fantastic, right?
I mean, I would love to have RFK in a position that Trump offered Elon Musk, which is a government accountability, like oversight, right? Like an executive oversight of government accountability.
I would love that too.
Like armies of lawyers, subpoena power, and the executive branch, sort of a commission. And Elon Musk says he will serve on it. And they did this during their X Spaces. And RFK, I don't know, man. They're in Phoenix together. They're in Arizona together tomorrow. I'm feeling the vibes. I think RFK is going to drop out. I think he's going to endorse Trump.
So even though, Benny, like you and I may disagree on many policy positions.
Sure.
Like Frederick Douglass said, I will join with anyone to do good and no one to do bad. So wherever you and I agree, I would like to join with you to help and push things. Yeah. And where we disagree, I would like to use the power of persuasion to get you to come to my.
This is absolutely absurd. You got to stop doing. He was doing the same line of rationale with the Boogaloo Boys. This was Jimmy Dore was saying, where people are like, did you know that this is a far right extremist organization and not exactly one that you should be promoting ties to, especially from the position of like a so-called leftist? And then all of a sudden it's like, hey, I don't know about that, but I know they're really anti-cop. I know that. And hey, by the way, some of them, there's apparently like LGBTQ plus members. So, they're not as discriminatory as you think. There's non-white members. How is it a white supremacist organization if it has non-white members? And I'm just saying that we should align with organizations that are willing to move us towards common goals. There's no like ground in far right extremism to find like, well, what are your economic policies? I'm just kind of curious. So if the Nazis are taking over state control and then they're going to be controlling a lot of elements of the capitalist corporations, am I still going to be able to make a lot of money under that economic system? I'd like to know how that's all going to play out in the long term.
But I agree with you with the RFK. So that's why I think RFK he should try to get a position in any administration, whether it's Donald Trump's, Kamala Harris, or Richard Nixon's, or whoever's, right? He should try to get, because I was saying before, he wanted to have a vaccine commission before COVID happened, and Bill Gates got the ear of Donald Trump, and Bill Gates said, no, don't do that. That's a bad thing, which is a direct quote from Bill Gates. And so Trump listened to that guy instead of Bobby Kennedy, and that was a mistake. Imagine if we had a vaccine commission before COVID. Imagine how that would have.
Is there any, like, I know how I say the conspiracy theorists always start with like a sliver of truth and, like, you know, extrapolate from there. Is there any truth to that story at all? Is that one just 100% made up? Because with Jimmy, I never know. I never know if he just saw it in a Substack somewhere and be like, well, apparently Matt Taibbi said, and then you're like, oh, okay, well, yeah, that must be true. It was on a Substack. Like, I apparently one of the reasons why Donald Trump decided to mass do Operation Light Speed or Warp Speed and create the vaccine, mass produce it, was in part because Bill Gates made him, whereas like Bobby Kennedy told him don't do that, and he was like, you know, I got two choices, you know, which way, Western men, which way?
Changed everything, right? It would have changed everything. So I really hope that no matter who the administration is, if it's Kamala Harris, it'll never be Bobby Kennedy, but Trump has a chance to bring Bobby Kennedy in. So there's that sliver of a chance. So that I hope.
I've never seen a single issue voter like Jimmy Dore, where it's really just like vaccines, anyone who will destroy the vaccines. It's like, hey, I mean, I don't really want to talk a lot about Trump's other ideas and policies and the whole restricting access to healthcare, that kind of stuff, or being anti-union, being anti-worker, being a bit of a warmonger, increasing drone strikes after Obama. I don't want to talk about any of that kind of stuff. His imperialism, you know, on a scale of which to, yeah, sure, not something I should align myself with if I'm constantly going to be touting all these kind of aspects of what I think a leftist is. But I do want to say the potential to have RFK Jr. in there, to be able to on a world stage talk about how vaccines bad, that's worth it to me. It's worth all of it, you know? I'll throw everything out just to get that vaccines bad moment.
It happens. I don't think Bobby Kennedy's going to endorse a Republican, but the Democrats have so screwed over Bobby. They're the most undemocratic primaries. Yes. At least Republicans have democratic primaries. Whoever wins the vote gets to be the thing. That's how Trump succeeded in fact, he was probably smart to run as a Republican because, you know, Trump was never.
Jimmy Dore is an American. Why doesn't he not understand the system? So you elect delegates. The delegates then go and present at the DNC, and they present whom they want to nominate, and they did that process, and that process happened. The ticket had Joe Biden and Kamala Harris on it, and Joe Biden, yes, has dropped out, so the delegates ended up nominating Kamala Harris. You now, as a voter, as an American, with the democracy, you get to go then decide if you want to give it to the Trump RFK Jr. ticket or the Kamala ticket. Or perhaps yourself. Is he still running? Is that a thing anymore? Is he even is the whole potential of him running and then testing it out by having people donate to his political party? Is that still a thing? The People's Party?
Republican or a Democrat until he ran, and then he chose the Republican Party. Because when Bobby Kennedy came on my show the first time, I gave him a hard time. I said, I would like to get excited about your candidacy, but I can't because I know it's a fool's errand. Yeah. Your candidacy is a fool's errand because they have super delegates in the Democratic Party. They don't have that in the Republican Party. They have a super delegate. And I said, Bobby, why do you think they have super delegates? So that a guy like you could never become the nominee. And soon enough, and he's disagreed with me. He fought back. He goes, I'm a Democrat. My dad was a Democrat. My uncle was a Democrat. I've been a long life Democrat. Democrats are better than Republicans. He said that on my show. And then he ran for president, and he realized those. Can I swear on here?
Please go.
Those motherfuckers. They're the most anti-democratic Democrats in the history of the world. And so now it's to the point where people believe that he might endorse Donald Trump. That's how bad the Democrats are. That's how bad they are. You turned RFK Jr.'s son, who was an environmental champion of the left for decades. People can now go kayaking in the Hudson because of Bobby Kennedy and his lawfare against corporations. And now they've been turned into haters of Bobby Kennedy because of the money of Big Pharma, because Democrats.
No, because of his life's work. Like, no one put like a fucking gun to Bobby Kennedy's head and said, hey, you have to write a book where you deny that HIV causes AIDS. No one pressured him or influenced him into speaking at public events or even speaking at private events and dinners where he's talking about how the COVID vaccine was bioengineered in a lab specifically to spare Ashkenazi Jews. Like, that's all him. That all him on his own words and policies. His campaign, if anything, taught us about the strange. I didn't know about the whale juice. Had no idea about that. Didn't know about the bear carcasses. Definitely didn't know about all the sexual assault. All that, yes, has kind of just come to light as, and again, a lot of it is just because he's saying it out loud. It's like he's talking to Jesse Waters on Fox. They're randomly talking about a completely different topic, and he starts talking about how many times he's flown on Epstein planes, and then you just see the chyron like change in real time at the bottom of the screen, where it's like all of a sudden RFK Jr. Admits to flying on Epstein flights multiple times with family, and all of a sudden it's like, why is he doing this? Why is he? That's again him. He's the one doing all this shit.
Democrats under Bill Clinton's tutelage became the tools of military-industrial complex, Wall Street, big pharma, and insurance companies and big oil. So if you remember, I don't know if you remember, maybe you're too young to remember this, but when Bill Clinton became president, he did a thing called the Democratic Leadership Council, the DLC, with Al Gore. And that was like, they were going to be the new Democrats, right? What did that mean? That meant they got so scared by Ronald Reagan that they decided to become tools of Wall Street. And so they said, hey, we're open for business. And on the Democratic Leadership Council, the DLC, they had Koch brothers executives on their DLC. So there was no difference. Bill Clinton he did private prisons. He had 100,000 new cops. He bankrupted unions by doing NAFTA. That was the beauty of Trump. The first time he was against the WTO treaty, right? And he did that, which the Democrats were for it. Barack Obama's out there campaigning for and Trump was against it. That was great, right? So because NAFTA cut the legs out from underneath the unions for a generation, they still haven't recovered. So he did that. He privatized prisons. He gutted welfare. At the same time, he imprisoned all those people with Joe Biden's crime bill, and then he was ready to privatize Social Security. After he deregulated Wall Street, he took away Glass-Steagall, which led to the.
I mean, it doesn't take like 5 Negronis to know that at the end of the day, this is just about Jimmy Dore increasing Jimmy Dore's brand. Like, to go onto a show at like a Turning Point USA or Turning Point Action event, even if it's outside of the DNC, to speak to Benny Johnson on fucking TENET Media, the far-right media empire with Lauren Southern and Tim Pool, and then to just sit there and be like, oh, you want me to talk shit about Bill Clinton for a while and then profess how we could, mutually agree to work together as long as we're on the same page on a handful of issues. The issue being RFK Jr. Fucking RFK Jr. As Biden calls to protect abortion, his inflation drives clinics out of business. Was his real mistake with Tim Pool and Milo Yiannopoulos? Oh, he's still around. Trump campaign shakeup. Elon protests transgender ideology, woke ideology. They mock Jesus Christ, the real truth about the worst Olympics.
Okay. This is the story today. The Olympic opening has probably destroyed the reputation of France, perhaps forever. And quite frankly, the French agree. It's over for them. I mean, look at videos of the French people watching the opening ceremony.
What is she doing? Is this like a new thing for TENET? Does like Tim Pool be like, hey, by the way, you can't just produce and keep copying videos from your other channels and putting it onto TENET. You got to have like a kind of a new persona. Get exciting, just invent a personality, do whatever you got to do. And then really, really crush those libs.
Ceremony.
C'est Philippe Catherine. Ah, mais c'est Philippe Catherine. Comment tu veux qu'à l'étranger, ils disent pas qu'en France, on est complètement barge ou pas?
Okay, showing one, French family's TikTok video of being outraged at the Olympic ceremony does not data produce. This is not the sum total of France. Hey, France, are you upset by your own Olympic ceremony? Do you hate your own Olympic ceremony? If you got a poll that shows me the vast majority of French citizens despise their own Olympic ceremony and are outraged, that's very different than being like, and hey, by the way, as you can see here, even the French are disgusted. And yeah, I mean, most of this content plays out exactly as you'd think.
Anymore, it's still... No, it depends if they have the surgery or not. But if they have the surgery, would it be gay still? Because it was a man at one point? I don't know.
No, Tenant, that's not how this works. Why don't you learn the very people you're trying to vilify and marginalize a little bit better? It means they were improperly identified when they were kids. Not that it was a man. It was a man, though, and it's a man who became a woman.
I don't know. That's a tough one.
Woo! I don't know.
So
I have no personal experience, and I can't have an opinion on that with no personal experience.
in your mind,
That's a little scary, though.
that's a little scary.
That's a little scary.
What if they don't have anymore?
Nope. There's still other things.
Testosterone.
There's still other things. Yeah, there's.
So yeah, it's exactly what you think. And yeah, it's a little tough though, because like to try and like create a brand new media empire, Tenant. And like even with big names, again, Lauren Southern, Benny Johnson, Tim Pool, and the rest, there's still going to be this thing where it's like, if you clicked on this video and you're like, yeah, I like this kind of content. I want to see people talk shit about trans people on the street. Cool. I'm on board. And then the next one is like Benny Johnson and Jimmy fucking Dore sitting there and talking about how like, oh, we need to form strong alliances.
Hey, if you'd like to unlock secret bonus episodes as well as uncensored content, go to patreon.com/the Serfs. This show is produced by Anna Loves Riley, Arian McCarthy, Cheryl Alvarez, Comrade Junkie, Doug Caddy, Everything Important, Hagbard Celine, Jimmy Sombrero, Multimondi, Omni, Political Poppy, Preston Kroll, Quiet 185, Riley and Anna, Roller Dragon, Cernicus, Stellar Gwyn, Sebastian Demel, Travis McClinton, Trincell, Words Greenwood. With additional support coming from all of these amazing human beings right here.